Okay, manga makers out there, I have a statement and I'm really curious what you think about it. First of all, let me say this. Making manga is not easy and my statement is not meant to undermine that in any way. But here it is. Making a gag manga is the hardest form of storytelling. Yes, that's it. Do you agree? Are you offended or maybe surprised by my statement? Let's talk about it. Welcome at Super Grass. By the way, the manga I'm working on is a comedy and this is not meant as self-pity. Well, maybe just a tiny bit. But let me explain what motivated this video. What I'm struggling with is that I've developed a lot of fun characters for my manga and they all experience these small stand-alone moments. I just don't know how to bring any real structure into it. And on top of that, the characters keep evolving whenever I work on them, which makes earlier ideas no longer fully usable. I do have a clear setting for my manga and even a larger arc for the main character, but somehow everything still feels like separate scenes. Nothing really falls into place. Luckily, I have someone I can turn to for advice. It's a professional and his name is ChatGPT. So let's see if he can back up my statement. What do you think? Is he going to completely roast me instead? Is comedy manga harder to make than story-driven manga? Short answer, yes. Often it is. And that's mainly because comedy works very differently from traditional storytelling. Hey, I hope for that answer. I've got 6 answers. Let's walk them by one. In story-driven manga, drama, adventure, romance, you have clear anchors. Beginning, development, climax, resolution, character arcs, themes that naturally return. With comedy, that structure seems to be missing, but in reality, the structure exists on a micro level. Every page, every panel, sometimes every single beat has to work. A joke without payoff is simply a drawing. So there is a hidden structure. Of course, that structure can be learned, but if you get it wrong, you end up with a manga that's just pictures, no jokes, no story. Okay, I can't completely hide behind that argument, but it does show that comedy isn't just about throwing in a few jokes. Let's quickly move on to number 2. Comedy offers no forgiveness. In story-based manga, if a scene runs a little long, that's okay. If an emotion doesn't fully land, the story carries you forward. In comedy, if it isn't funny, it's dead. The reader forgives nothing. One mistimed beat and the joke is gone. That's what makes comedy mentally heavier to write. This once again shows that you really have to be sharp as a mangaka. If your jokes don't land, the reader won't turn the page. They'll just put your manga aside. And honestly, I get that, I agree. That can really happen in a bookstore or when someone flips through your manga and thinks, wait, is this supposed to be funny? And then decides to buy something else instead. ChatGPT says it's mentally heavier to write comedy. That's quite a statement, don't you think? If you're also making a gag manga like I am, remember that one. It's a great argument to casually drop in a conversation with a friend sometimes. It's mentally heavier to write a gag manga, my friend. And you can just say a well-known YouTuber said it. That would be me. Okay, the third argument by ChatGPT. Structure is hidden in timing and rhythm. Comedy structure doesn't live in plot, but in setup, expectation break, repetition with variation, escalation, silence. Empty panels are gold in comedy. This is harder to plan than a classic story because timing is visual, it often only works once you see it. Many jokes only reveal themselves during storyboarding. That last point is especially interesting. Many jokes only reveal themselves during storyboarding. You can't always just write a joke down beforehand. Very often it emerges while you're working something out visually. I personally recognize this a lot. Many jokes live in interaction between characters, and you only really discover those once you start drawing the scenes. I often have ideas for a fun character interaction, but they exist as separate loose scenes. So the challenge is figuring out how to place those moments at the right point in your story. You can't build an entire chapter around a single joke. That's what makes writing a chapter difficult. Knowing when to pull the right jokes from your notes and use them exactly at the right moment. Interesting. The fourth point. Comedy demands extreme character control. Great comedy almost never comes from being randomly funny, but from consistent characters, predictable behavior, unexpected outcomes. For example, a dumb character who thinks he's smart, a serious character in an absurd world. This means you sometimes need to know your characters better than in drama, because when a character reacts out of character, the joke feels cheap. I really like this point. Your characters need to be consistent, and that's not easy. Often you only truly get to know your characters while developing the manga. That's when their personality really starts to emerge. Sometimes that development goes so far that earlier jokes you came up with no longer quite fit, because the characters has grown or changed. That's why it's best to do a lot of upfront development, I think, before you actually start working on your first chapter, because otherwise you won't have consistent characters, and that will come off at the expense of your earlier jokes. Okay, point 5 by ChatGPT. Why comedy feels structurally harder? You are right that comedy feels looser, but that's because there's often no big end goal. Every scene has to justify itself. You can't lean as much on emotional build-up. That's why comedy manga often feels episodic, chaotic, free. But that freedom is exactly the trap. Well, by trap I think he means when you write your chapters you can go in any direction. You can also end up getting lost in one or two characters and lose sight of the rest. In GAG Manga it's very easy to take a detour outside your main arc, just to create a fun situation, which can then become fertile ground for new events or jokes. That also makes it tempting to introduce new characters. I suppose you need to keep track of the bigger overview before tempting yourself to lose yourself in funny detours. The sixth and final argument of ChatGPT: the best comedy actually does have a backbone. Look at strong comedy manga like Gintama. It has absurd comedy and serious arcs. Nichiju has precise timing and repetition. Azumanga Daioh has a fixed cast and recognizable patterns. And Ranma Half is a comedy driven by conflict structure. They all have fixed rules, recurring dynamics, and a status quo that is constantly under attack. Okay, I only know the last manga, Ranma Half, but I suppose that means I have housework now. But I do get what ChatGPT says when it comes to Ranma Half. There's a clear setting and a bigger story always in the back. It's that of Ranma who has to marry Akane. The characters are consistent and the conflict always is about boys and girls, where one likes the other. That then always gives conflict with a bigger arc, that of Ranma and Akane, who are supposed to marry each other. This is very interesting stuff, so I hope some of you who watch this video also plan on making a GAG manga, I really would like to know how you handle this. Is this information new for you or were you aware of it? Feel free to post your experience in the comments. We even get a conclusion from chat. It's a short version. Yes, writing comedy is often harder than writing story-driven manga because the structure is less visible, timing is everything, failure is immediately felt, and every page has to work. Or, as many writers put it, drama can carry you, comedy has to be earned. Well, I'm actually glad to have ChatGPT's support. A large part of what he says is something you can definitely learn, and I'm just still in that process, but what I'm struggling with right now is having all these separate little moments that somehow need to come together as one manga. I also keep focusing on one or two characters at the same time, and at that moment those are the ones I enjoy working on the most, so the focus keeps shifting. Sometimes my main character doesn't even appear in my ideas at all, and then I start wondering how that's supposed to work. Does the main character always need to be present, or is it okay for them to stand out for the spotlight for a bit? Some clear suggestions for structuring the chapters have been given. I'll be working on those later and I'll make a video about it as well. Hopefully we can learn how to turn all those separate jokes into a cohesive whole. I hope you'll be there for that too. Well, I definitely feel revived. I got the recognition I wanted, so what's your take on all of this? You can roast me in the comments if you disagree, but know that ChatGPT is on my side. Thanks for watching. A thumbs up is always nice, and see you in the next video. This just came in. Let's quickly open it. Regina Into the Deep, Part 3. I'll review it in my next video. Here's a little bonus for you. ChatGPT insisted to write a mooie volwassen afsluitende reflectie. So here it is. So maybe that's really what making a gag manga comes down to. Constantly searching for balance between structure and freedom, between planning and discovery, between letting your characters grow and keeping them consistent. It's messy, it's frustrating at times, and it rarely falls into place all at once. But maybe that's not a flaw, maybe that's the process. I don't have all the answers yet, and honestly, I don't think you're supposed to. You figure things out by doing, by failing, by adjusting, and by trusting your instincts just enough to keep going. So, if you're struggling with the same things, loose ideas, shifting focus, characters taking on a life of their own, know that you're not alone. This is part of manga making and nothing else. It means you're actually creating something. Thanks, chat.